Superman doesn't do well, do you think that now Warner Brothers becomes ripe for a sale? I mean, because I think it seems like the report is indicating that Zaslav had always planned to offload Warner Brothers after he had stabilized the ship a little bit, but they keep losing money, Jeff. And so, and if The Bride, which they paid $100 million, I gave Maggie Gyllenhaal $100 million for a musical about the Bride of Frankenstein, or Sinners, and I mean, like, if there's this like four flops in a row, and I don't think Superman will flop, but maybe underperform, then at that point, you got to cut your losses, don't you? I mean, like, it becomes a situation where you sell it off as soon as you can, and do we start all over again? That's the real fear of all of this.
That is honestly the fear, is that if Superman doesn't work, well, then why are we investing in the rest of this universe if the public didn't respond to the building block? If the next three movies aren't going to do better than Superman.
Well, that's the thing. This now goes back to James Gunn, doesn't it, Jeff? I mean, he set it up so only one big superhero movie is coming out. He busted his lantern down to being on TV. The Supergirl movie isn't going to hit the heights that Superman will in terms of knowledge. The Authority's not going to happen. And then you've got these other two movies who are possibly in play, so...
Things are definitely a little messy over there. Again, kudos to Kim, did a great job, I thought, with the article. I didn't have names. It only made sense that it would be Pam and Mike, but, like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's not just, like, the people at the top, right? To me, sometimes it's the whole tree. It's just like we need some fresh execs in there. And so, you think...
Welcome back to Movies TV Man. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. A very warm welcome. You can follow me on X, Twitter at Movies TV Man, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Man X. Does anyone use Threads apart from sex bots? I don't think so, because that's all that are following me on there. You can also follow me on TikTok, Mad Mickey's World, and on Snapchat, BMouth60. Mick, your host with the most. You know what I mean? So welcome to Friday's edition of the DCU Daily. So let's talk about that audio I played you that was my intro for today. And what an intro it was. So Jeff Snyder was with the other guy whose name escapes me, but both lads were saying some very, 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 sensible things, common sense things. And as you can see, I was laughing. If you watch the video, they were laughing because it's a joke. 100 million, did they say, for that Gyllenhaal movie? 4 flops in a row. And then they made some very, very valid points about how James Gunn has set up the DCU. First of all, he's given a slate. There's all these movies coming without knowing if Superman is going to be successful or not. And then, as the guy said rightly, it's a thing I've been saying for the longest of time, and he seems to be the only other person saying it, he whittled down his Lanterns project to a streaming show. But did he have any choice in that, or was that a Zaslav decision? Was he bullied by Casey Bloys, Zaslav, and even Peter Safran? It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So it's very, very messy. Now we're hearing rumours that, Zaslav wants to replace Abby and DeLuca with Peter Safran. He must be a lunatic to even be considering this. But apparently, Matt Reeves sees Abby and DeLuca as his only allies at the studio. And if they're gone, there's a big problem. It's very, very messy over there at WB. I mean, how much further can modern day entertainment fall but this is what happens, right? When the lunatics take over the asylum. Let me explain to you what I mean. Imagine there's an asylum. I may have told you this in another video. Let's do it again, because I think this makes sense to me. Imagine there's a mental asylum, and one day the governor of the mental asylum goes, let's do an experiment. Let's let the inmates take over the asylum. That's it. What's going to happen? All hell's going to break loose. And this is what's happened in Hollywood. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. You've got a CEO in Zaslav with no scripted entertainment experience, making mistake after mistake after mistake. Making James Gunn and Peter Safran co-CEOs of DC Studios was a mistake when you could have given it to James Wan and Dan Lin. I was talking about this the other day. Dan Lin has got a lot of expertise in comic book entertainment. He's a very, very smart guy. It was a big coup for Netflix to get him. Then you got James Wan, who's got a production company of his own and has more experience in production, in producing, in developing projects than James Gunn has. James Gunn is a writer-director, not really a producer. And there is a huge difference. But considering James Wan is one of the best directors around and owns his own production company as well, he has that experience. I never understood why James Gunn and Peter Safran were made this offer. I don't know what happened there, right? You think about Bruce Timm. Why isn't he involved in DC Studios? It's insane to me. But anyway, we are where we are. There is a Superman film coming, and by Joe, it has to be successful. And we've been saying this for a long time. It's Superman or bust. That's what it is. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't need to listen to these people. You don't need to listen to any pundits, right? You need to use your common sense. It's obvious, right? This is a debt-ridden company. They're making a mess of their IPs and their smaller movies. 4 flops in a row. And they're not even big movies, but small movies that they've invested a hell of a lot of money in. And who's making these decisions? Adby and DeLuca. They're in the position to be investing in these things, so it's on them as well. Zaslav is above that. Now, I don't know if Zaslav's been interfering in what Adby and DeLuca have been doing, but it looks like Adby and DeLuca also have been making some insane decisions. Now, Jeff Snyder made an interesting point, and it's not just the people at the top, it's the whole tree. So basically, what Jeff is saying, that Zaslav has to go. Every executive has to go. You need to flesh out the studio again, but you can't do that because David Zaslav basically is in charge of Discovery. He made the decision when they merged with AT&T that he would run the whole company, Warner Brothers Discovery, which he shouldn't have done because of his lack of experience. He should have said, I'm going to stay at Discovery. I'm going to run Discovery. That's fine. I'm doing a good job with that. Discovery, is a pioneering place, right? Makes documentaries really well. Great network. Loads of network channels. It's amazing, right? He stays over there, and then you employ someone to run the Warner Brothers side. AT&T had the same problem. AT&T had no idea. They're a flipping cable and wireless company. They had no idea how to run Warner Brothers, but they were running Warner Brothers. So because of the damage they did, they had to merge with Discovery, and then they allowed Zaslav to be the CEO of the entire company. When they knew the mess they made of it because they didn't understand scripted entertainment. So they allowed someone else to come in and make even worse mistakes than they did. It's insane. Now they're all losing money. Of course, in the end, Warner Brothers is going to be swallowed up like 20th Century Fox was. And this is very, very sad. 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers Pictures, these were studios that were at the top of their game when I was growing up. I can think of about 100 movies, produced, distributed by 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers when I was growing up. As I keep on asking, how much further can modern day entertainment fall? And it's very, very sad. It's tragic, but we're laughing because it's unbelievable how far modern day entertainment have fallen. But when you've got rank amateurs running your companies, when the titans of industry have gone, what do you expect? Miracles? They have no idea. They keep on going on about representation and inclusion. And what they mean by that is anyone will do. They don't have to be good at their jobs. At least employ the best black people, the best Asian people. If you genuinely believe, male and pale is stale, at the very least, at least employ the best Asian people, the best black people, the best women, right? They're not even doing that. They're insane. If you've ever been to LA and you've been in the town like I have, you'll know these people are insane and they need policing. And when the titans of industry were running these studios, these networks, they were policed, right? These lunatics were being policed. There's no one to police the asylum. You heard the boys there. It's insane what James Gunn has been allowed to do. Nobody knows if Superman's going to fail. Let's be clear about that. And I mean, can James Gunn, nail Superman? Can he get Superman right? He's got a lot of anti-heroes in the movie, which I think he will absolutely get right because he's very, very good at that. But I'm not sure he's going to get Superman right. Superman's a very, very difficult character to get right at this stage of his life. When you look at what Smallville did, they had a 14-year-old Clark Kent from season 1. He was a flawed character. He was learning. He's naive. He makes mistakes. He trusts Lex Luthor when he shouldn't trust Lex Luthor, right? He trusts Lionel Luthor when he shouldn't trust Lionel Luthor. He's got his relationship with Lana, his friend Chloe. So many things going on, and it's wonderful what they did with that show. So when the character's so young, you're going on a journey of how he becomes Superman, and it's very, very interesting. They made the character relatable again, Gotham Miller. But in the stage of the character's life where we're going to be at in this film, it's very difficult, right? Because what journey has he got to go on? He's there. So you've got to create good villains, you've got to adapt great villains and create a great story. So basically what this story is, that Superman is a good guy doing good things. And the public are thinking, hang on a minute, why is he being so nice to us? What is he after? What is he doing? What is his end game? The idea of the film is, Superman's a good guy in a world where people are very paranoid about good people doing good things. It's not very fashionable to be a pure-hearted, good person in this world today. And that's the story that James is doing. And it's not a bad idea, by the way. I mean, I know what I would do with a Superman film. I think there's a lot of potential in Superman. I think he is relatable. I do. You've got to have the imagination. I'm worried this film's going to be Superman's greatest hits. Let's throw a Snyder bit in there to quieten up the Snyder fans. Let's do this, let's do that. Let's put a bit of everything and then not have any original ideas. That would be a huge mistake. I was very excited when Nolan and Goya, I knew Nolan and Goya were writing Man of Steel. And I really wanted them to ground Clark Kent as they ground Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins, which is my favourite Batman movie, along with Batman Returns. And they really ground Bruce Wayne emotionally. Now, Nolan and Goya really didn't do that to Clark Kent because WB had this anxiety from Superman Returns getting all these accusations that the movie was boring. So the instruction to Nolan and Goya and Snyder was action, action, action. Get Cavill in the costume as soon as possible. Let's see Superman punching people. Let's see people punching Superman. Let's see lots of action. That was a directive from the studio. That had nothing to do with Snyder. All that destruction you saw, Snyder was directed to do that. Nolan and Goya were directed by the studio to put that within the story. And that's why it's there. Nothing to do with the writers and the director. People are very, very quick to blame Zack Snyder for anything they don't like. And I think it's very important. One thing this platform always does is honest and direct and is informative to you, because I think that's very, very important. But this current situation, look, I said it the other day, this is like a car crash, that's going to happen. You hope it doesn't happen. You hope that people don't get run over and get killed, but that is what's going to happen. This movie probably won't make the money they want it to. It could be a bigger disaster than we ever imagined, right? they'll have to sell the studio, probably to Universal. And I mean, Universal could end up buying Disney as well. It could be that ridiculous. You know, we could be looking at a one studio system when all is said and done.